Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Mahalski, and I want to welcome you to the Your Best Life Yet Summit. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest speaker. Tara Ray Bradford is a growth strategist and success coach. She is the founder of the Potentialista, a global mentorship program to help extraordinary people become visionary leaders and bring their ambitions to life. Tara has 9 years of experience helping individuals and families through tragedies. When she reached the top of her career path by the age of 26, she discovered that happiness and success were not the same thing. After reinventing her own life, she completed her certification in high performance coaching so that she could help others change their life as well. Tara is passionate about helping high achievers live happy, fulfilling, successful lives by guiding them to develop fierce confidence and limitless self-belief. Welcome, Tara. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm really excited to be here.
I asked Tara to be here so she could really share with us her journey and some of the things that she's had to overcome to really achieve the success and happiness that she's seen in her life.
And I am so excited to share my story.
And I think we'll just jump right in and get started with that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I started my career in nursing, and I worked in critical care, mostly with trauma patients for the majority of my career. And the top of that career path was the director of nursing. And what I found was that when I was at the top of my career path, the rest of my life wasn't really getting the attention that it needed in order to really be successful at everything. I thought, okay, I'll work on my career first, and then everything else will kind of fall into place and I can focus on some other things later. But what I ended up doing was getting divorced when I was 26, and that was shocking because I thought I was going to have kids by the time I was 30. I had everything planned out. I was going to be able to have it all. And then at the top of my career path, I lost a lot of things that I hadn't really focused on. And so through rebuilding after that kind of rock bottom, I ended up, it's been 6 years since my divorce. So it took a while to figure out exactly what I needed to do to come out of that. And what ended up happening was I moved around a lot. I became a traveling nurse, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to be. And I ended up in Maine, and I didn't really know anybody in Maine. I had taken a job that it was okay, but it wasn't my favorite job, and in a city where I didn't know anybody, and I ended up in a relationship where I wasn't really happy in my relationship either, and it wasn't the partnership that I had hoped it would be. And so all of that came to a halt. It started with my relationship ending, and it was a relationship that made me feel really small and really insignificant, and like I couldn't do anything right, and I wasn't really worthy of anything, but mostly not really worthy of love. And when it ended, I thought, well, I don't really have anything else to lose. And I put in my 2 weeks notice at work and decided in the next 30 days, I'm going to do something drastically different because I'm not happy. And I don't know how to fix all of these things, but I know that I need to start doing things differently. I had a conversation with my dad during this time, and I was talking to him about where I should go because I knew I didn't want to stay there. And he said, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? And I said, New York City. And it was the first time in my life, I was 30 years old, the first time in my life that I had ever decided to do something that was just for me, just based on what I wanted to do. I mean, I had gone to college to become a doctor initially because my parents told me to become a doctor or a lawyer. And I had moved to Seattle for my ex-husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. And so I had done a lot of things in my life for other people, either to make my parents proud or because of a relationship. And so it was kind of liberating to be able to say, I'm going to move to New York City because I want to do it. and not feel selfish and not feel like it was going to take away from somebody else because I was deciding to do it for me. And I ended up packing up whatever would fit in my car. I had a temporary job that was going to last 3 months, and I was staying with a friend, and I drove to New York, and I was scared and excited, and I had like 4 Facebook friends that I hadn't really talked to in a while that lived in New York, and I thought, well, I'll reach out to them and I'll start there. And that's kind of how I ended up here. At the same time, I got into a master's program, and I thought, I'm going to go back to school because growth and learning is really important to me, and I don't know what I want to do, but this seems like the next logical step. But what I found was that I loved New York City. And one of the things that I did when I got here was I made a bucket list of everything I wanted to do because the floodgates were open now. I had given myself permission to make a decision for me. And then I was like, well, what else can I decide to do that's just for me that I've always wanted to do that I've kind of put off for my career or for another person? And I just started doing those things and realized that I was really happy here and I didn't need another degree. I didn't need more letters after my name or anything like that to feel successful or happy or fulfilled. And so I ended up not going to school, and I'm still in New York City, and I started my coaching practice in October of last year.
That's an amazing story. And I know that a lot of viewers, I think, can relate. You said a few different things in there that really struck me. The first one was that, you had gone out and achieved everything career-wise that you thought was going to make you happy. But when you got there, it wasn't quite what you expected. And I think a lot of us viewers, and myself included, have definitely been there where we started out on a path, we started achieving everything that we set out to achieve, but it really wasn't giving us that satisfaction or that joy that we thought it was going to. I think a lot of people can definitely relate to that. And the other thing that I found really interesting that I totally agree with is that you said, when you came to that spot where you weren't happy and things needed to change and you didn't know how to make them change or what exactly to do, that you don't have to know how it's going to change or how to do it. You just have to start doing something differently, I think is the key. That it doesn't have to be hard. All you have to do is something different, and you're going to start changing your life for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are some of the ways that we can overcome fear and build confidence? Because I know a lot of people are probably listening to your story going like, I would just love to do that, but that sounds super scary to me. Like, I don't even know where to begin.
Absolutely. I think for me, I got to a point where the fear of staying the same was worse than the fear of change. I just knew that I couldn't stay there. And I think I see this, all the time, that even in my own life, something painful had to happen in order for me to wake up and realize that this was not okay. And as a nurse, I've seen it in the hospital too. People wait until they're in pain to come to the emergency room because they don't want to complain or they don't want it to make something dramatic out of something that could be nothing. And Tony Robbins tells a story about this. There's some research about frogs. If you put a frog in boiling water and you drop it in, it's going to jump out. But if you put a frog in room temperature water and you slowly warm it up, the frog doesn't realize when the water starts to boil, and it will stay in the boiling water. And so I guess for me, that situation that I had ended up in, everything kind of went wrong at the same time. And it was like that boiling water. Like, I have to get out because everything's wrong. Like, I can't even justify it or make excuses for how maybe it could be okay, or at least I like my job or something like that. And so I think the first step in realizing that something needs to change is recognizing what you're afraid of. And sometimes that's really hard to see initially when you're focused on, like, I don't really like my job, so I'll get a different one. Or my relationship's not great, so we'll break up and I'll date somebody else. Or I don't like the city I'm living in, so I'll just move. If it was one of those things, then I would probably have only focused on changing that one thing. But when I realized that at the core of everything that I wasn't happy, that was when I really identified the problem that needed to be solved. Like, what makes me happy? And so once you start asking yourself those questions that are deeper, that are underneath all of those surface problems, that's when you can really kind of self-reflect on what is it that I really want.
I think those are great questions to ask yourself, because I know that for myself too, it's definitely always been associated with pain, and moving through that fear is what allows you to go out and achieve the things that you really want to do. But you have to get, for me, I had to get to the point where definitely the fear of staying where I was a lot more painful than actually moving through that and going after some of the things that I wanted to achieve. And I know the audience can definitely relate to that. But it's asking those tough questions and really figuring out where you are and giving yourself the almost permission to move through that now and let go of that.
Yeah.
You've talked about, before we brought up, you say that success is definitely different than happiness. So how can we redefine success to be meaningful to us as an individual?
I think the definition for success is different for everybody. I can't tell people what it should mean. And I think as children, when our parents are teaching us, go to college, get a degree, get a good job, be able to take care of yourself, all of those things we associate with success when we're younger. And I think as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I would assume that my parents just wanted me to be able to take care of myself, because to them, they were successful parents if I was able to grow up into this person who was independent. And instead of turning it around and asking me, what do you want and what makes you feel successful? And I didn't really have somebody ask me those questions when I was younger, so I thought I just needed to do the right thing. And I had this huge case of the shoulds. What should I be doing, and what should success look like? And so really taking a step back and looking at, okay, this is what my parents did, or this is what my role models did, and that's what I thought was success back then. But then putting yourself in those shoes and saying, have I already achieved those things that I thought would make me feel successful? And is success even a feeling? Is it something that all of a sudden you feel like you've arrived at success? Or is it a journey? Is it something that's ongoing? If you are someone who likes to achieve things or climb or grow, then maybe changing your focus to what's really important and what really makes you feel like you're moving forward, that's how you redefine success for you. What makes you feel alive? What lights that fire inside of you, or that spark? And how can you keep that going long term? Because for me now, success means that I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, and I'm doing that for the rest of my life. It doesn't mean I'm staying with the same company for the next 40 years till I retire with a pension. It doesn't mean that I'm making a certain amount of money. It means that I can take care of myself, that I have the freedom to do the things that I love, because it's hard to put all of that pressure on a job and say, this is what I'm going to love doing 40 hours a week for this many years, and it's going to make me feel alive forever. We have to have other things going on and be able to balance those things in order to feel really fulfilled. And I think for me, feeling fulfilled is more important than feeling successful per se at this point in my life.
I think that, again, is a great point too, that most of us are brought up with the idea of what expectations are placed on us, and we kind of hold that as what success means. And I'm a mom of 3 little girls, and I know that even as young as they are, they do ask, they're like, what should I be when I grow up? Or like, what do you want me to do? They don't have that, not yet anyway, that sense of, what's something that would make me feel alive, or something that would really ignite a passion or a purpose inside me so that I could go out there and really achieve anything that I wanted to achieve. I think that's something that we all have to look at and really go back to that feeling, like what's going to make us feel alive and successful, and really go after that instead of what we think we should be doing or what we were brought up to think what success was. And I know I was definitely brought up to think that, I had to go out there and get a great job and, stay there for 40 years and hopefully get a pension and then be able to retire. And I tried that and it really did not work for me. It was not something that I wanted to do or carry on with. And again, just being able to really use that feeling to go out there and figure out what it is that you want and ask yourself those questions, like, what do I want to do? I don't think we truly stop and ask ourselves that. I think we just kind of get caught up in life and just end up running with it. And then, we hit those walls where it's like, what am I still doing here? Because it's not fulfilling me, and, facing that fear so that we can change it. Now, you talked about, asking those tough questions, like, what is it that I want? And we often hear how important it is for us to take care of ourselves and really practice self-love. Can you give some advice on how you were able to do that, or what other people can do to really, practice that self-care and self-love?
Yes, absolutely. I think self-love is so important. And that's actually where my journey began, was learning how to appreciate myself and how to be nice to myself. I think I was my biggest critic before, and I was a perfectionist. And if you have studied perfectionism at all, then then that's the fear of not being good enough. And if you want everything to be perfect, you're setting yourself up for failure, because everyone's imperfect. And we should be grateful for our imperfections because it's what make us unique. But for me, I started out in high school and B was failing. I needed to get straight A's. Like, there was something about getting straight A's that I felt like that was success in school. And then it carried on throughout the rest of my life, where I thought, if I'm not perfect, if everything's not 100%, then it's not good enough. And so for me, practicing self-love initially was making that bucket list, my 6-month bucket list. What am I going to do in New York? And crossing things off and making time for it. And then that turned into making time for something every single day. And one thing that I wanted to get really good at was photography. And so for me, I was leaving for work 20 minutes earlier than I normally would, and I was going a different way to work every day so that I didn't end up on autopilot. Just, when you get in your car and you drive to work and you get to work and you think, I don't even remember really what I drove by because it's so routine. And so I made a point to go a different way to work every day and take pictures of things that were going on around me. And just having that 20 minutes a day of something that I was passionate about doing or something I wanted to learn. I also listen to audiobooks on personal development when I'm on my commute now, or when I'm on the train. I practice meditation in the mornings for a few minutes every morning. And I also, this one's really hard to do, but I try not to snooze my alarm, and I try to wake up smiling every morning. And when you can get your body language to match what you're thinking and match what you're saying and match what you're doing, then you start to believe that you're actually excited to get out of bed in the morning, even if it's 5 a.m. and you don't really want to be awake at that hour. Getting that's how I overcame that negative self-talk of not being good enough and needing to try harder and do more and be better. It was that tricking my body into having the body language that promoted a more positive mindset of, like, your shoulders back and sitting up straight and smiling, instead of like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed this morning and I'm going to snooze the alarm again, and it's Monday, and all of those things that we hear all the time that just sound really draining. they actually are. And when you start doing those things, they do drain you. And then it becomes a routine and a pattern. And it's like that. You don't even notice that it's happening because it's every morning. And then all of a sudden you're like, I wonder why I'm not happy. So those are some of the things that I've done to incorporate more positive thinking in my day-to-day and just taking care of myself and loving myself and doing things that I love.
I like that you brought up your body image. And that's one thing that I've noticed, and a trick that I like to use too, is that if you can correct that, it really does make a difference in how you hold yourself. And that makes a difference on how you feel and how you interact with people during the day too. And it's such a simple trick that we just get so used to kind of like shrugging down. And when we're feeling kind of mopey and not wanting to do something, we really shrink. But if we can just change our body position and really, like you said, stand up straight and smile and go out there and chase the day, it really does start to change your mindset as well and help you just have a better day. I know for me, with being a mom and kids, sometimes it can get super busy. And a lot of times I'm like, I'm just going to hang out in my yoga pants and I'll get my work done. But I'm not really too motivated to actually get up and get dressed. But those are the things that I've really tried to be aware of, that even getting up and getting dressed, like putting on like nicer clothes, like I'm ready to work, that those really help you have a better day for sure.
Yeah, and definitely smiling when you are walking past people. Other people will smile at you if you look. I mean, I'm not walking around with a cheesy grin on my face all day, but just having that, your shoulders back and kind of a little bit of a smile on your face instead of frowning or looking down at your phone. I've noticed that people, especially in the mornings, they'll say good morning to me and smile back at me. And it's like a good, it gives you a sense of community kind of. And it's that human interaction that with all the technology these days, we sometimes miss.
I totally agree with that. I mean, if you just go out there and walk around during the day and notice how many people are totally disconnected, like they're looking at their phones or they're really not paying attention or engaged, like it makes such a difference when you do walk by somebody and they smile or say hi or whatever. It just makes you feel really good, and something that I think I would challenge everybody to go and practice that during the day and just see how much it makes you feel better for sure. So what are some of the strategies that you use to really kind of kickstart your journey of change? Can you share those with us?
I think the most significant one was giving myself a deadline. I gave myself 30 days to change and to move and to figure out what I was going to do. And I made sure that I accomplished that within 30 days. And the first step was quitting my job. I gave 2 weeks notice about a week into that 30 days. So I had 3 weeks to figure it out, and then I wasn't going to have a job. I wasn't going to have a paycheck. And I didn't do it to punish myself. Like, okay, in 2 weeks, I'm not going to have any money, so I have to get a job. It was more of like, I don't want this job, so I'm going to leave it and make room and make space in my life to accept something else in its place, because it's hard to start another job 40 hours a week if you already have a 40-hour-a-week job, right? So it's easy to get stuck in that and hold yourself back because there's no space for it. And so giving myself the deadline, scheduling it, and then taking the action steps I needed, even though, like you said earlier, I didn't know the outcome, I didn't know the end result, but I knew I needed to take those steps in that order in order to make it happen. And so that was probably the most significant thing I did. I did it again in New York when I decided to stay. It was 30 days before I was supposed to start school, and I already had signed a lease. I had movers scheduled. My job here was ending, and I had student loans sitting in my bank account, and I had paid a deposit for school, and I told them I was coming. And then 30 days before, I had this gut feeling, and just trusting your gut and knowing what those feelings mean. Like, we've all had the happy feelings, but it's equally important to pay attention to those gut feelings that are like, something's not right and I don't quite know what it is. And I felt that feeling before 30 days before I was supposed to go to school. And I thought, I can't go. I'm not supposed to go, because I had planned out the next 2 to 6 years of getting into a lot of debt, going into a program that was just the next stepping stone on my career path, but it wasn't something I was really passionate about. I was excited to learn, but it was going to be a very rigorous program that I wasn't going to get a lot of time off to see my family for holidays and things like that. And one of my goals was to work less so I could spend more time with my family. And I wasn't really working towards that goal. So I think the other thing that was really significant was knowing what I wanted and then recognizing that what I was doing was not sending me in that direction. It was actually pulling me away from what I really wanted.
I think that's a great point. You know, I know a lot of us we set those goals and we have those values and dreams that we want to achieve, but then we continue to do the action that actually leads us further away from that and can't figure out why we're still stuck. And you brought up another great point too, is that, you know, all you have to do is take that first step. And I think just taking that first step, that allows the universe or whatever else is out there to really put things in front of you that are going to lead you to where you want to go. So you don't have to worry about having the entire plan laid out. All you have to do is to be able to really take that first step, and other things will start happening. And you'll start realizing, okay, this is the direction that I want to go in, and start really fulfilling the things that you do want to achieve.
That's so true. When I came to New York, I had no intention of starting a business, and it kind of found me. And it was because I started taking steps. I started saying yes to new experiences. I started getting outside of my comfort zone and meeting new people who worked in different industries. I volunteered in the fashion industry because I thought it might be something I was interested in doing. And just putting myself out there and having these new experiences. I'm very introverted and shy and not someone who just goes and meets people wherever I go. So I had to put myself in situations where I wouldn't normally be in order to learn what I really wanted to be doing.
I like that, just saying yes. And it kind of ties back into that, you know, putting yourself into different situations, making different decisions. Those are really the key things that are going to allow you to make the changes in your life that you're looking for. And I can totally relate to you being an introvert and not wanting to put myself out there. I was so that person. My sister used to bug me all the time to say that I was like borderline awkward and like socially just, I didn't know what to do in those situations. So that should give the audience some help too, that even if you are quiet and shy and not sure how you're going to put yourself out there or really take those steps to go achieve your dreams, you can. When you figure out what it is that you want to do and really gain that purpose or that passion, things are going to start lining up and you're slowly going to start coming out of your shell, and that you guys can do that too as well. So can you share maybe some key shifts that our audience could make maybe today or tomorrow that would really allow them to step out there and start living their best life yet?
Yes, absolutely. I think the first thing I would recommend doing is writing down 10 things that you want. And 10 sounds like a lot, especially if you've never given yourself permission to want something just for you. But I think once you get the first 2 or 3 things written down, that you're going to start realizing that you have a lot of things that you want, and you might even get more than 10. But just writing down things, like for me, photography, it was something that I could do with my iPhone. I didn't have to buy equipment. I didn't have to take a class. I just started walking around and taking pictures. It doesn't have to be something huge like going on a trip around the world or taking a cruise when I've never taken a cruise before. You can start small with these little things that you can do every day, and you might realize that those are actually really big things. And then another thing I realized as an introvert was when I walk into a crowded room, or at least a year and a half ago, when I used to walk into crowded rooms, my body language was closed. I was looking down. I was not smiling. I was on the outsides of the room, hoping that someone would come approach me as I'm looking down at the ground and like, don't talk to me. And quiet, and maybe hanging out by the food, and maybe like staring off and hoping that no one makes eye contact with me, because then I might have to talk to a group of people. Noticing how you are in those situations, and then thinking about, if I saw somebody acting like that, would I think that they're approachable? And a lot of times when you think of someone who's maybe stuck up or full of themselves or thinks that they're better than everyone else, they're kind of doing those same things. They're like not looking, maybe standing off to the edge of the room, maybe really quiet, standing by themselves. And so it makes us not approachable, and that's not our intention. It's just that we're really nervous. But if you do the things that we were talking about earlier, like standing with your shoulders back even, or smiling, or making eye contact with people, that's going to make you more approachable in those social situations where you're not really sure what to do because it's so uncomfortable. And write down 2 or 3 questions that you could ask anybody. Like, what do you do for work? What do you like to do for fun? Do you have kids? Are you married? Where are you from? General questions like that that anybody could answer, and have those prepared ahead of time before you end up in those situations, so that you can ask other people questions about themselves. Because the other thing that happens when you're really nervous and you're an introvert and you're not sure what to do, if someone asks you a question about you, sometimes you become this chatterbox that you didn't even know that you were, and you just start talking because you're afraid that if you stop talking, then there's going to be an awkward silence. And the dreaded awkward silence, like once it happens, you don't know how to fill it. So if you just keep talking, then it won't happen. But it doesn't let other people feel connected to you because they're not getting to share as well. So if you answer the question and then respond with a question, it invites people to share more about themselves and have that connection with you, and keep the conversation flowing instead of putting you on the spot when that's really not what you want, and then you're just talking to avoid silence. And so those are some of the things in social situations that I think might be helpful. At least it helped me. And then just practicing. I put myself in a lot of situations with a lot of strangers because I didn't know anybody here, and I kind of forced myself into it by moving to New York and not really knowing anybody. But you can do this anywhere. You can find networking events on Meetup or Eventbrite, and even Facebook events now. It'll connect you with people in your area who are doing things that might be interesting to you. And the nice thing about practicing in those settings, if you're going by yourself, that nobody knows you. So if you mess up, or if maybe it's not fun, you can leave, or they're probably not going to remember you because there are so many other people there. So the best case scenario is that you walk away with a bunch of new friends, or you meet a lot of like-minded people who have the same goals as you, and they help push you forward and help you grow.
Those are all great suggestions. You know, that's definitely something that I had to do, is I had questions prepared so that I could draw on them when I was in situations like that. Because for me to try to think up or even say hi almost, it was like, I just couldn't do it. It was so hard for me. So knowing that there are definitely other people out there like us, that you can learn how to, you know, go out there and put yourself out there. You don't have to be afraid, that it is something that you can learn. So if you do want to go and really, you know, push yourself to achieve some of the things that you're looking to do, you can learn pretty much everything that you need to. And all it does is just take practice. And I love how you said that we have to really give ourselves permission to want things. And I know that maybe us as women, sometimes we're so used to helping everybody else or being that nurturer that we don't really take the time to allow ourselves to want things or give ourselves permission to do things. And again, it doesn't have to be like a full day something where you're just taking care of yourself. You can start with those, like you said, 20 minutes a day. Just pick something that you want to do, something that you're interested in or that you just enjoy, and spend 20 minutes a day doing it. And it's amazing how, like, over the week, it'll just help you feel that much better and give you that much more confidence for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us or talk about today?
I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It was great. Tara's got an amazing free download for the audience. If you just want to share a little bit about your free gift and where the audience can access that, that'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. It's at www.tararaybradford.com/start-here. And it's a free training on finding your focus. So if nobody's ever asked you before, what do you want to do? Or what do you like to do? Or what are you good at? It gives you some steps and some tools that you can put in your tool bag and help you get started on that journey towards figuring out what it really is that lights you up, lights that spark inside of you. And on my website, Ray is spelled R-A-E.
Awesome. I know that that would be a great tool for a lot of us because I think we just don't spend the time to really think about what we want. And I don't think anybody's really asked us. So just a great way for you guys to get out there and really start thinking about what it is that you want to do. And Tara's website, again, is tararaybradford.com. You can follow her on Instagram at tararaybradford, Twitter at tararaybradford, and Facebook, again, at tararaybradford.com. And we're going to put all the links up there for Tara's website, your free gift, and everything is in the email that you got today for your video. So just go check that out. All the links are there, and go check out Tara's stuff because she's got amazing things on the website that are really going to help you guys get started and take that first step. Again, Tara, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today and, share your insights and your story with us. I know that I've gained some more insight and tools that I can use, and I'm sure that our audience has as well. And I can't wait to see more of your great work that I know that you're going to have out there for us.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It was a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to let me share my story with your audience.
Oh, thank you. We've really enjoyed it.